Thanks for logging on to Wayne.com for another edition of Inside the Zone. Blake Sebring of the News Sentinel joining us to talk Komets hockey, and we talked a lot last week about the first half of the season. We'll talk about the unfortunate second half start that they had. But before we get to that, because we had so many things to talk about last week, we didn't get to a topic that I really wanted to talk about, and that's the future of the CHL. Had some meetings recently to discuss what it is. Obviously, we know the landscape of minor league hockey is forever changing. What did you get out of what came from those CHL meetings recently?
Not much. I mean, it's going to be an ongoing process. Anybody that says they know now what's going to happen is throwing it up against the wall to see what sticks. But I think right now everybody's just kind of positioning themselves to see what the options are so they can decide what the best option is for them. So nobody's closing any doors. Everybody's keeping the options open type of thing. So, because they don't know. I don't think anybody knows right now.
And the Komets certainly will have their options open. They signed a 2-year deal with the CHL, so they're essentially going to be a free agent at the end of this season. The Frankies saying May 1st they'd like to know what they're going to be doing next season. Kind of a self-imposed deadline.
Sure.
But what do you see between now and then happening that can allow the Frankies to make a decision?
Well, I think a lot of it depends. You know, do all the CHL teams come back? Do some of them go out of business? You know, do some of them decide you know what, we want to try the ECHL? Does the ECHL drop their expansion fee? Does the ECHL say, no, you got to pay this expansion fee? Does the ECHL give them a deadline of whatever date and they decide, well, we can't make up our minds in that time? So there's a lot of different things. I mean, there's all kinds of options. Are there, 8, 9, 10 teams that this is probably the least likely option? Decide, you know what, we're going to form our own league. Does somebody buy out Global, which owns the Central Hockey League, and reform that in another fashion? I mean, there's all kinds of different possibilities right now, and that's all it is right now is possibilities.
What's so attractive about the ECHL? Is it the longevity, the name recognition? Because it seems like whenever questions pop up about, hey, where are they going to land, where would be a desirable place, the ECHL is right there as places where people might like to see this Komets team.
Well, I think they'd love to see the Komets team play Kalamazoo again, play Toledo, play Cincinnati. The question for the ECHL has always been, well, what are their feelings about taking the teams that have basically partnered with the Komets the last 6, 7 years, the Quad City, the Dayton, the Bloomington, those type of teams, Evansville now. I think in the past the Komets have always been very loyal to those teams. I think right now the Komets will be looking for whatever is best for them, period. And I think if they decide to move to the ECHL, I think other teams will try to follow them. But I don't think it's necessarily where the Komets will wait to see if the other teams get accepted or not, that type of thing. It's just, they just got to figure out what's the best for them. Is the economy going to turn around at all? Because it is more expensive to build a team in the ECHL a little bit with the travel and some of that. And
so in your eyes, the Komets wouldn't be playing follow the leader, they would be the leader.
They would be the leader, yes.
What's so attractive? We've seen some teams, especially in the old IHL that went down to the junior level, and that's something that people are talking about as well as some possible teams in the CHL maybe going junior. Why is that an attractive move for a franchise?
It'll never happen here. I mean, it'll never happen here to replace the Komets. We have a junior team, I believe it's the Federals, playing the cost, strictly the cost. The players don't get paid. They bill it with families, so you don't have to pay their housing as much. The travel costs are a little bit cheaper. The equipment costs are a lot cheaper. It's just strictly cost, but you're also going to get a lot fewer fans coming to the games too.
Right. As far as this Komets team, where do you see them most likely scenario for next season? Still in the CHL?
I really don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I think it's probably between the CHL and the ECHL would be my guess. I don't think they want to go through all the grief of forming another league again and having to do all that. A lot of it is going to depend. It could depend on what happens with global, and are there owners out there? Are they happy with global? Are they unhappy with global owning the Central Hockey League? Do they decide they want to buy it, or is global open to selling it? I mean, there's a lot of different options like that. That it's all business options type of thing. If
you're Michael Franke, is this kind of a maddening thing, because it seems like it comes up, if not every season, every other season, or is that just the landscape that minor league hockey?
I think they're kind of resigned to it. I mean, they've been through it so many times. I think they have a kind of like he said, they already knew what the application process was like for the ECHL because they'd studied it before, so that's not a big deal. I mean, it's just like they've been through all this so many times. It's like trying to find which is the best one that fits you. I mean, it's never been a question of whether or not the Komets will play hockey. It's who will they have to play against.
How much is that entry fee to the ECHL that it's?
I don't know.
It's such a bone to pick.
It's over $1 million, I'm sure. I don't know the exact number anymore. I used to remember it used to be like 1.5 during the 90s, but I don't know what it is now.
Would that increase travel costs playing in the ECHL, but tickets might go up, or how does that work?
I think that's all things to be considered. I don't know. You're going to have to probably make a tour through South Carolina or maybe to the East Coast or something sometime. It might depend how many teams come with you, too. If you can get 8, 9 teams right in this area, you may not have to travel all those ways. But it just depends what that league wants to do once you're there, too. I mean, all of that stuff is probably being discussed at this point.
Yeah, I think we saw that with the CHL. When teams came over, you look at the map of the CHL, but when 2/3 of the games are still played in pretty much the same area,
right,
the travel costs are pretty.
The hard part is when you have to go to Wichita for one game and come back, like they did that time. And, they're going to Arizona for like 2 games and coming back. I mean, that adds up quite a bit.
Tulsa's coming in for 2 games this week.
Well, especially in the playoffs where you can't, work your schedule out 3 months ahead of time, buy the cheapest ticket and go.
Right.
You just have to go, and whatever it costs, it costs.
All right, so kind of a stay tuned on that. Again, the Franke's saying May 1st, they hope to know what they're doing, so we'll have to keep an ear close to the grindstone on that.